Okay, yeah, let's get started. I'll start off by just kind of like introducing myself a little bit. My name is Jen. Most of my friends, most of my patients know me as Dr. Jen. My friends know me as Jen. I'm a pediatric dentist. I'm an associate right now. I graduated from UCLA residency last year in end of July. So I've been practicing as an associate. Bounced around to a couple offices, did a little bit of private practice, did a little bit of, well, mostly corporate with Pacific Dental Services right now. Our practice is in Long Beach, so we actually just opened it like January. We were starting to get really good momentum. Like, it's really cool to start to see like your patients grow from zero to a whole bunch of patients, and then all of a sudden Corona happened, and so now I've just been at home. I've been furloughed for about a month and a half. The last patient I saw was an emergency patient who had fallen on the pavement, and so it's really sad not to be able to see my patients and hang out with them. The families, they're so amazing. They make my job so cool. So I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. During the time that I grew up there was a lot of riots going on. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of like the Rodney King riots, but that was like the epicenter was right where I lived. Kids were being hurt. So my dad was like, let's go to NorCal. So we moved to Santa Rosa. I finished high school. I didn't finish high school there. Due to a whole bunch of stuff going on, I had to drop out of high school, which was really tough for me because, my whole life since I was little, I wanted to be a doctor. Like, my parents had put that in my head, and I just never thought of anything else. So dropping out of high school was like a big blow to my ego, but I never gave up. I actually started working at a dental office, doing like sterilization and insurances and booking appointments, stuff like that. And the doctor was like, I see something in you. Like, I really want to like be your mentor. So he ended up like vouching for me. I challenged the RDA exam, which is like the registered dental hygienist or dental assisting exam in California. I'm not sure I actually don't think every state has one. But here you have to take an exam. It's a written exam. It's a practical exam to be able to get your dental assisting license. So I got that when I was 17. I was able to go to the JC, Santa Rosa Junior College, one of the best institutions in this country. Went to school at night, worked during the day, and just like chipped away one class at a semester. And then finally transferred to UCLA, got my BS in physiological sciences, went to UOP Dental School. Amazing school. They taught me so much. I'm still in contact. Hopefully one day soon this year, I'll be able to be faculty there. So yeah, and then I also got my master's in public health. So while I was at UCLA, UCLA has a dual program. If you're interested in it, they usually select 2 students from each class. I believe this last year there's 3 students, and I believe the year before that there was only stipend for 1. So my friend Danielle actually went out and found her own scholarship. So anything you guys really want to do, like, you can do it. Just don't let rules get in the way of all that. So a little bit more about why you guys are here today. You guys all want to be pediatric dentists, and that's so awesome. I love that. So I think being a first year, it's really hard to know off the bat, like, hey, I want to do peds. Like, you don't even know how to hold a handpiece most of the time. So I would recommend just like really focus on just kind of getting your groove the first quarter or semester, whatever type of curriculum you guys have. This is something that I've been talking to my sister a lot too. She just started PA school, and I think just kind of like getting used to that first, it's jarring. You came from undergrad and now you're doing all these different things with your hands, with your brain. You're not sleeping, you're meeting all these people, you're wanting to go out. So it's a lot. Just kind of focus and, have peds in the back of your mind. I would for sure 1,000,000%, I wish I had listened. Start a spreadsheet, like right now. Start a spreadsheet. Anything you ever do, like anything, just write it down, because when you're going back and like writing your personal statement, you have to do little like anecdotes about each volunteer thing you did. Every little thing counts. So I would definitely start that spreadsheet first year, because you guys probably already have so much more that you can add to it from undergrad. But definitely start it first year. Second year, it's a little bit different depending on what school you go to. For UOP, we're a 3-year program. So you kind of have to, like, your first year, you already have to be like gunning for what you want. I didn't really know I wanted to do peds. I actually thought I wanted to do ortho because I was an ortho assistant for so long. That just seemed like such a natural transition. But I realized like peds is actually what I love. Planning is not my thing. So love all my orthodontists out there that can plan everything. Second year, I would definitely get involved. At least at UOP, you know, if you're not involved, you're like the end of the first year, second year, no one really knows you want to do peds. And for you to go and ask your pediatric director, whoever that may be, for a letter of recommendation, if they don't know who you are, that letter of recommendation, you may as well just not ask for it, because it's better to have no letter than to have a letter that's not strong. So definitely, true. Right? I mean, we at UCLA, we're fortunate as residents. We're part of the process of accepting the incoming class. So we have to read everybody's applications. And it's that's crazy, like, right? What was that?
Oh, I said that's good though. So you get to know them beforehand.
Exactly. Like kind of like who this person is. So just show that you're involved, you're interested, get into leadership positions. I know that in some schools, if you don't get into them early enough, it's really hard to get those positions because they're kind of like a year in advance. Make sure you're shadowing. Our school, we did not have a pediatric residency, so we got to do everything. But, you know, I worked really closely with the pediatric director there, Dr. Wood. He's awesome. And he just allows you to just, you know, if you want to create an opportunity for yourself, you can. So just create your own opportunity. When you're applying to schools, like no one knows that you know, maybe created this opportunity for yourself, but just show that you are doing good and, you know, what you're doing in that. Volunteering, obviously, it's important, particularly volunteering in peds, just so that way you can show, you know, this is something that interests me. It's not something that happened from one day to the next. Externships, I know I've gotten a lot of questions about. I know externships now they're not happening. So for the rest of the year, it's not happening. I was reading today, it looks like all of the Lutheran programs are just doing interviews over Skype or whatever, so no in person. So today when I asked Dr. Silva and Dr. Tom, so UCLA, USC, they said that there's no externships, and the way that you can kind of like help yourself to try and figure out, is this a school I want to go to? One is reaching out to the program director, which I personally asked Dr. Tom, would that annoy you if you got bombarded with emails? But he's like, no, we're all very understanding of what's going on right now. And, you know, we want to know which candidates are interested in us. So definitely email them, make sure you like check your grammar, make sure everything looks good, it's clean. I know I use a lot of emojis all the time and slang words, but like if I'm going to email a director, I'm not going to do that. So that's a really good tip he gave me today. Another thing is just be social, and like right now we're all stuck at home, but like you're really not. Like I've met probably more people during quarantine than I have in the past year. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty amazing because everyone I've met is so amazing and everyone's so helpful. So just reach out. If you have a friend of a friend of a friend who goes to the school that you're interested in, ask them, because they know, as opposed to, hey, Nance, as opposed to someone who, you know, has no idea. So just ask. I personally did 2 externships. Externships, you know, later on, later on, you know, when externships start being a thing again, I personally think they're very valuable, but they can be like a double-edged sword. Like it could be really good for you if you did awesome. It could be really bad for you if you just bombed it. So just make sure that you kind of understand that everyone's watching you, whether or not it's like something that they verbalize. Everybody's watching you. Everyone's watching who you're saying hi to, who you're not saying hi to, if you're helpful, if you're asking too many questions, if you're annoying, if you're overbearing. Like everyone's watching you. So just be yourself. Like don't be scared, don't be intimidated. Obviously, like I wouldn't want to go to a residency that I didn't feel comfortable in. So if me and those residents didn't vibe, I'm sorry, I don't, like, we're not going to vibe for the next 2 years. So I think externships are awesome. They let you see like the day to day, because until you go, you have no idea what residency is. Research. I personally didn't do research. Did you do research?
No, not before residency. I did not go near research. Research and I were not friends.
Yeah, me neither. Not friends.
No.
So I don't know. I just always thought of people like in a lab, like alone. So I just never went for it. I'm more of like, my CV is all community service, because that's what I personally love to do. Like you shouldn't be doing things that you don't love to do, because it shows. Like people tell me when I talk about like the things that I've done, my eyes light up, because I remember like that kid that I had this interaction with or whatever. And when you just kind of put things on your CV, on your application, and you didn't really get really involved, they can tell. So
Yeah.
and they talk about that. So just be aware of that. Oh, another thing I wanted to say about just being involved. If you, so I was at UCLA, and we're like kind of close with like the School of Dentistry, the pre-docs. And just know that when you do one thing to one person, like it's going to get around to everybody. So just be helpful, like be kind humans. Don't step over people, like just be a good person. And it's going to help you a lot in the long run to not be stingy and like only look out for yourself.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah. And I feel like pedo in general is like a helpful, we're helpful. So I feel like if you have that personality, just go with who you are. You know, everybody can succeed. You can help everybody. It'll all work out.
You guys, there's like not that many pediatric dentists out there. Like there's room for all of us. No one should be competing, even in residency. Going back to third year, which is, I think a lot of you right now, you're getting all of your application stuff ready. The number one thing, two things. Start early by asking people for letters of recs. Do not wait, not even I wouldn't even give it 2 months. What would you say?
I would say don't wait at all, because they're going to get, like in Maryland, at least, we have to have like one main faculty write a letter, and then you can ask specific people, and that faculty member gets overrun by all the people applying. So be as early as you can.
Absolutely. And I'm also pretty like 100 million% with whatever I do. So I made a packet for my letter of rec writers. I made a packet. I put my letter of intent on there. It wasn't my personal statement. It was just more of like, this is why I want to do peds. This is my history behind it. And I would only ask people that knew me, like me 100%. I would never ask someone who doesn't know me, because I can come across as, you know, X, Y, or Z to one person who met me one time, but someone who's worked with me for a year, who's seen me grow, like that's someone who I want to write my letter of rec. So I would do that. I would ask them if they felt comfortable writing me a strong letter of recommendation. If they hesitated, if they were like, you know, if they didn't say yes, 1,000,000%, I will write you the strongest letter I've ever written in my life. Do not let that person write you a letter of rec, because, you know, hindsight, when I was in residency, you're reading these letters of recommendation, and you guys probably think, oh my gosh, this person loves me, they're going to vouch for me. And they really don't. And it's really sad, because we, like, as people who are choosing our colleagues, like, we look at that like, whoa, what did this person do? Like, I don't want them to do that to me. So just be aware of that. Sorry, going back to the packet. So I would give them my letter of intent. I made like a bullet list of what is the most important thing that people are looking to read in letters of recommendations for people. If you guys want that, I can send it to you too. So that way, because it's hard to write a letter of rec. Like, you've probably had to do it now. I've had to do it. It's just, you get a writer's block. So just help them out. I gave them my CV. I gave them my grades so that they would see that I'm very transparent. I have nothing to hide. And then I would just check in on them and just make sure, like, hey, just to let you know, this letter is like so crucial to me. Like, I'm applying this day. I'm going to be early, all this stuff. So strong letters of rec. What was the second thing that I was going to say? Sorry, I like blanked.
No, that's okay. I feel like this has all been excellent information.
I have so much to say. I'm like, I just wanted to make sure I told you guys everything. Another thing I did, and I think this would probably be really important for you guys right now as you're trying to figure out what each school is about. Again, be social. Everyone knows someone through someone at some residency program. There, according to Dr. Tom, there's some programs that are trying to have like happy hours with the residents with potential applicants. But that's something that like that those people have to be very proactive to do that on their own, which like a lot of people are not. So if you guys are proactive, like for example, you guys at UCLA, I've talked to a lot of you the past few days, go talk to Steph, go talk to Danielle. They will for sure 1,000,000% like sit down. Sorry guys, I just like said that you'll do something, but they will sit down with you guys and they'll talk to you. They'll answer your questions. They'll let you know about the program, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I would recommend right now, because program directors are kind of like stressed out about other stuff, you know, take it upon yourself. Sorry, Steph. Take it upon yourself to like figure it out. Like, it's not, things aren't going to be handed to you. Another thing I did was another spreadsheet, and I went through every single, so on the APD website, there is a residency tab. If you click on that residency tab, it will show you a link to each residency in the entire country. So I went through every single one and I said, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, whatever. And then the ones that I said yes, I would delve into and I would look at APD's information. I would look at ADIA Pass information. I would look at the school's information. I would look at the residency's information, because believe it or not, each one may be different, and it's because they don't all communicate with each other. So if you get, when I would get to those points of like, wait, is this a requirement or is this a requirement? I would like tag it red, so that I would make sure to reach out to those schools and say, hey, I'm super interested in your program. I saw this and this and this in these different websites. Can you just clarify for me? One, it gets your foot in the door because they know the people that are asking, they know who's interested. It shows that you're doing your research, and people want residents like that. So that's something I did, because every website is so different. Requirements are different. The tests that they want are different. So yeah. And then I would recommend making sure that you're really on top of your requirements for school. I was gone for 2 months for interviews. It's the funnest 2 months ever, right?
Yeah, it is.
I have lifelong friends. Nancy, I don't know if she's on here, but just from like interviews, so cool. So just make sure you're on top of your stuff, because you're gonna be gone for a long time. And I know personally some of my classmates, their clinic leads weren't as lenient, so like they wouldn't allow them to go on their interviews because they weren't done with certain things. So it's just like, just be on top of your stuff. When you are, I wrote so many things in one, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I would definitely practice your interviewing with each other third year. Our school, Dr. Wood, again, he's amazing. He actually recruits pediatric dentists who we've never met in our lives from like different cities or whatever. And he'll bring them in and they will act like they're interviewing us. So it's like intimidating, like it should be, because an interview, you know, you always have those nerves. So I would recommend like seeing if you guys can do something like that. I made a list of like all these questions that I looked up online that they could potentially ask you. You don't want to be scripted, but you want to be ready. And you know, the cool schools are going to have like fun questions. So there's stuff that you can't prepare for. Don't be embarrassed. Like, you're going to be a pediatric dentist. Like, I rap to my kids while I'm extracting their tooth. Like, they're laughing the whole time. Like, that's what you should be. You shouldn't be, you know, hiding. So I know for us, like, we make you do some cool stuff for the interview. So just be yourself and don't take yourself too seriously. And then 4th year, I would say, if you're like me, I had no money. I had already paid for everything on my own to go on these trips, to stay at these places, for rebs when we were applying for to take our exams. So just be mindful of your money if you know you're not fortunate enough to have tons of it. There are scholarships. There are different other loans that you can take through your schools. Just like tap into that. That will help you with like relocation, with interviews, with applications, all that stuff. So that's what I would do 4th year. And then I got a lot of questions about, does this even matter? So I just made like 2 slides on, does this even matter, and all that stuff. We already talked about research, externships. Extracurricular is absolutely important. But again, just do whatever you love to do. Like, don't be someone else. Whatever you like to do, that's what you should do, because that will shine through. Oh, 12 to 14. Devin, you told me 20. That's so mean. Sorry. Make sure you know your CV front and back. They will ask you about that, and they can tell if you just copied and pasted something. Grades. I think grades are different for every school, because some schools are pass, no pass. Other schools, like UOP, was ranked. So we had a number and we had a grade. So every school is different. I mean, I would say you definitely have to be a strong applicant. Pedo is a very hard residency to get into, along with ortho, along with OS. So I would say focus on your grades, but you know, I wasn't top of my class. I was like top third, right?
Yeah, I think the good thing about pedo is, like, it's definitely, grades are important, especially with, I feel like it's getting more competitive, but at the end of the day, it's also personality, because you have to remember you're working with kids, so you have to be able to have a little bit of both. So I know I got questions about if our grades aren't strong, should we still apply? And I would say yes. You know, try to make your application, if you don't, you know, if you're low in one box, try to fill it with another. Like you were saying, you know, volunteering, trying to do some extracurriculars, staying on top of your requirements for school. Because if you get invited for an interview, that means, you know, you passed whatever cutoff that each school has, you've passed. And so now they want to get to know you and see what a shining star you are. So
absolutely. I feel like once we were all interviewing, it's like, okay, we're all level playing field, you know, like we've all made it. If you really think you're not like a super strong applicant, like do a GPR, do an AGD, go work for a year. Our attendings at my particular residency, like, loved people that had experience, you know, and in my residency, there's only 2 of us and we didn't have experience. So he always like picked on us. But you know, if you feel like I don't have the grades, take a year to like work, take a year to do another AGD GPR residency, and that will boost. I think they look at that more than your grades, because they're like, okay, they realized I didn't kick ass at my grades, so I did this and I learned so much more from this, and I did a GPR that specialized in kids, or I worked at this clinic that I only saw kids, you know, like you could spin it to make it look good for you. Applying early versus late, early bird gets the worm, rolling admissions. But with that said, I applied way too late. Don't do that. Just apply the first day. Don't gamble. Don't take that huge risk. Like, just apply the first day. right? Would you say the
I
same?
think so. I would say so, and especially consider the programs. I know like Lutheran programs have very, very early deadlines. So if you're considering applying to them, just try to have everything done by then, and then you can just submit everything at one time and you don't have to worry about it. But I would try to apply early. I too applied late to several programs. So it just
I was
benefits
so
you
late.
less stress, because I know at one point I was like up till 2 a.m. trying to type, a supplemental. And needless to say, it was unsuccessful, but that's okay. It still worked out in the end. So if you can be early, I think that's a good idea.
Someone asked, is it rolling admissions? I'm under the impression it is most of the time.
So I think for some, it may be like, I know they send interviews out at different times. So like some people get an interview date at one date, some people get an interview date at another date. So it may be based on when they get the applications and if the application meets their requirements. So I would just err on the side of caution. And if you can submit it early, go ahead and submit it early. That would just be my thought.
Just do it. Yeah, don't lag. Someone said, can you submit your app before all of your letters are in? You can, but it's not submitted fully until everything's in. So everything is like in this like la la land until everything is in, and then it submits.
So it looks like for some, they don't look at it until it's closed. So I would say, and then there's a question about early versus late submission. Late, I would say it would be the day it's due. So it looks like maybe they don't, some schools, it depends on rolling or don't look at it till it's closed, but you don't know which is which. So I don't know.
Just don't gamble.
Yeah.
I don't like gambling.
Yeah.
Allie. Hi, Allie. Allie asked, what are they looking for in someone coming out of private practice? Does it hurt your app if you've waited a few years? I don't think it hurts. I think they just want to know what you did in that time. Like, how did you grow? How did you realize, like, okay, I thought I wanted to do this, but I really love peds. Yeah, I don't think it's a negative. I think it's a positive because you're more mature. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was going to say, if you wanted to, we've been getting some questions in and I can read them to you, or if you have more. Okay. So this one says from Miss Jasmine, do residents have a big pool or say in getting in?
I think it depends on the residency. And I think our residency at UCLA is one of the few that I've heard of that were involved in like the selection process. I think she said we had a third of the vote between both classes, but I mean, I don't know how true that is, but I think you should always just err on the side of, even if this person doesn't have like the vote, they have input into saying something to someone who does have that vote. So.
Right. Yeah. Just like you said, you're always being watched. So I know it'll probably be different this year. I don't think there'll be any usually there's a socials, but I'm guessing it'll be online or something. I don't really know. It sounds like they'll be doing virtual interviews, but just remember, if there is some sort of social activity, of course, that's a good opportunity to ask residents honest questions, but you don't want to go so far that you're, perceived as being rude or anything like that. So just know that even at those social events, you are being watched. I mean, you can ask whatever you want. It's good to ask those, real questions to the residents, but just remember that, I would say.
Absolutely. I did also get a few questions from like international students. I wish I had like so much more information for you, but I just know through like my friends who've gone through the process. I think the best way would be to find someone who is an internationally trained pediatric dentist. And I know if you guys want to reach out to me, I can see if they'll talk to you guys. You guys have it way rougher. I wish I could give you like specific advice for that. I know at UCLA they have a program where if you're a foreign trained dentist, you can come in and kind of be part of like our peds residency a little bit. But I think a lot of those candidates are looking to get into dental school and then into peds. So I'm not really sure, like particularly for internationals, I'm sorry, but if you DM me, I can try and help you. Reaching out to directors, what would I ask? I would definitely make sure you've done your homework and like tried to reach out to people that you know. I would make sure you looked at all the websites and make sure that you have questions for them. So that way, when you're reaching out, you're asking them questions and saying, hey, I saw this and this and that in this place. Just add to that so that way they can see like you're doing your research. Did I answer all those?
I think so. And then I got one about how long should a CV be? Was told to keep it short and keep important points. I guess just keep it concise. So what would you say?
I didn't listen. I don't know. I feel like I work very hard and I put everything that I've done. It was 5 pages.
It is so
It
hard
is
to
it
break
is what it
down.
is. Yeah.
I would say maybe, I know for mine, when I did my CV, it was longer as well, but I tried to be strategic how I ordered things. So I know it was like where I went to school, whatever. And then the next big block down was pediatric and special needs dentistry experience. And I put everything related to that so that if they were only going to look at, of course, I wish they'd read the whole thing, but if they didn't, that would be what they would read first. So I
Yes.
think being strategic, how you organize it to make sure that those experiences are seen is important. And then in terms of it being short or long, mine was a little longer. So
Yeah,
I can't say.
everyone
I'm
has a
pretty,
different opinion. I don't know.
yeah,
I feel like when you work really hard for what you've done, like you want to show it off. That's me.
it's true.
Personal statements. This is the reason why I almost didn't apply because I was so late. Dr. Wood was like, "Where do you live?" My peds director, he's like, "I'm gonna come to your house until you finish this." So the personal statement is by far, I think, the hardest part. I don't know. It took me a long time to write it. It took a lot of wine. It took a lot of talking to like my friends and my family. It took just me going on trips and like setting aside like, okay, I'm feeling good right now. I'm gonna go write. But I would say start like free writing. That's how I noticed that I was like going somewhere as opposed to just like stressing myself out. Just like free write on your computer or whatever. And then just I just like would cut and paste like things that I liked, and then I started structuring an outline. My sister, how long did it take us to do your personal statement, G? 2 months, maybe 3, I don't know. And it was like 10 drafts. Like you're not gonna get it on your first, your second, or third. Please don't be upset at the people that are trying to help you with your personal statement. We're telling you these things because we know, like, we've seen so many of these and we're just trying to help. I totally understand being married to a concept, an idea, a story, but like sometimes it just doesn't work. And like you can't try and like fit it because then you're putting out a personal statement that's not like your best. Like someone said this perfectly when I was helping my sister. This is the way that you show like, oh, I want to hang out with that person. Like this is how you show them, hey, my grades sucked. I didn't do as much of this. I didn't do as much of that. But like this is me, and this is how like I shine. So I think your personal statement is very important. I like stories. I don't know about
That's
you.
what, yeah. I wrote mine as like a story, and I know some people just write straightforward, like this is why I want to be a pediatric dentist. But if there's some like experience that you've had or program that you've created or something that you've done, which is why, like you said, keeping a list is so important because then you can just go back and it'll kind of jog your memory.
Yes,
Tell a
dentist of
story.
Insta, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Always
know
tell
your why, exactly. Sorry.
no, I agree. Yes, don't sound cocky. That's a good life tip too. Personal statement and life tip, I think.
Just don't be cocky. It comes across, and people, before they even meet you, they don't like you. And everyone's talking about you before you even come to your interview. Like, pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I got way too many people to read my personal statement. I would maybe start with like a couple people you really trust and then go from there. So personal statement. I think talking to people is really important because sometimes you think in your head, you know why you want to be a pediatric dentist, but then when you start writing it, it ends up being like a bullet point of your CV. That's so
Right.
boring, especially for people who have to read these. Like, hundreds of these. Make it cool, make it stand out, make it something that like someone wants to keep going. Okay. The next thing I wanted to, oh, wait, is there more questions?
Oh, no, there is, but we can go jump back and forth.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
Does this thing kick us off?
I think after, and I know it does at some point, but I think like maybe after an hour,
Okay.
I think.
Okay, we'll see. There's different types of residencies out there. There's university academic-based residencies, which are heavier on like didactics, over your clinic. They're usually very heavy on research. They're usually less of a stipend, but they usually have other certificates, other degrees that you can get along with it. And you also have like that university background behind you. For a hybrid program, which is what I would consider UCLA, I would maybe think UCLA is a little bit more academic than it is hybrid, in my opinion. I don't know, Danielle, Steph, what you guys think. But you get the why behind everything with academic, university, or hybrid-based programs, I feel like, which for me, I really wanted. Like, as much as I hate it, like now I love being able to like read a paper really easily and to know like, what am I supposed to get out of this? What's important? Do I believe this author? Being able to come up with my own decisions, because I feel like in pediatric dentistry, you can have two huge polar opposite sides of like what you would do to treat a kid. And I just feel like if I know my research, I can back it up no matter what I do. So I don't have to, you know, do what everyone else is doing. I can just do whatever research says. PGY1 is usually when we would take all of our classes. So for UCLA, it was very heavy on classes, lectures, outside presentations that you had to make, impromptu presentations. So it was a lot, but hindsight, like I put this together last night because I'm so good at putting together, you know, presentations.
It looks great.
Thanks.
It looks great.
Canva. Thanks, Ivy, for telling me about it. PGY2 is usually when you'll start going into the hospital and like start seeing patients. So my first year I was dying because I was coming from UOP, like I was doing fillings, I was doing restorative treatment, I was doing crowns, I was doing removable, like on a regular basis every day, all day. And then to come into an environment where I'm like doing prophies, I was like, what is this? But hindsight, I'm so thankful because I have to teach my assistants how I want my prophies done. I have to teach them like where people miss all the time and where I don't want them to miss. I have to teach them how to use the prophy cup because most people don't know how to use the prophy cup correctly. So I personally think it sucked during residency, but after, like, I feel like I have so much more knowledge because of that. The other two are hospital-based, which usually is more of like hit the ground running, not a lot of like classes to help prepare you to get into it. So it's just like, boom, here's an emergency case, go deal with it. A lot of call, a lot of trauma, a lot of OR. Usually they have very competitive stipends. So if money is something that's important to you, then I would look more into like hospital-based programs. They also usually have better benefits, less research focused. But classes, I feel like, are hit and miss on if you're gonna do those on your own or if you guys have to come in at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Like I know I was externing at Colorado and they were there at 6 a.m. doing lit review, which I was like, oh no, I can't do that.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't. So like stuff like that, you don't think about it until you're in residency and you're like, oh my God, why didn't I ask to see like a schedule of what my life was going to be like? Because it sounds all great when you're interviewing, but then, you know, residency happens and you're like, crap. Lutheran programs, I don't know a lot about. I didn't apply to any, but I just know they have high stipends, less didactics, a lot of online video conferencing style learning, a lot of like hospital community clinics. That's all I know. Do you know more about that?
So no, I applied to a few and I think it's mostly like video based learning. There's some in I guess in lecture classes, but mostly video based with like the whole Lutheran system, and then a lot of clinic, similar pace, I'd say, to like private practice. I went to a hybrid program too, and we were a little slower with patients, but a lot of like learning the why and the how and all of that, which is something that I wanted to. So when thinking about a program, that was one of the draws of the hybrid programs.
Yeah, I think for me, that was the best bet. And then also, I was able to get my MPH too at the same time, which not a lot of programs have. So I'll touch on that a little bit because I know people have asked me about that. At UCLA, you are able to get your MPH at the same time as you're getting your PED certificate. And the way that it works is that, and it's brutal, but it's worth it, especially right now with like COVID happening. I just feel like I'm so much more in tune with everything because of my background. MPH is usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all day, about 10, 11 hours of class, lecture, nonstop, guys. Like, this is no joke. Like, we're sitting on our butts for 10 hours a day, 11 hours a day. But you're learning about things that no one teaches us. Like, why does our medical system suck? Like, why do we spend so much money, but we have worse health outcomes than third world countries out there? Like, why? So I love knowing why so that I can hopefully one day like fix it. So I thought getting my MPH was amazing. It was hard as hell during it. No one understood it unless they were going through it or had done it. Not even our director like understood what we were going through. So I would just personally, if I could go back, I would do it again. But just look into those programs if you're interested and just kind of ask, is it a stipend? Do I have to look for my own money? How that works.
That's awesome. Good for you for doing your MPH. That's so cool.
It was awesome. So now, perfect transition. So what's the big deal about different residencies? No, like one residency is right for everybody. It's all about you. Like, I'm very big on like vibes and like my gut feeling. If something doesn't feel good, I'm not going to do it. Like, why would you put yourself through 2-3 years of something that you already are like not feeling it? Location was very big for me. If you guys watch me on Instagram, like I love just like going places, walking around, like going on bike rides, going to the beach. So for me, that was really important. I love nightlife. Not a lot of places are going to have that. So that limited me to only applying to like big cities. This is going to be hard for you guys to get to know the residents, but just, again, you have friends of friends of friends who know these residents. Ask them about their programs, about the residents that they usually tend to accept into the program, how their experience was. Do the residents hang out together? Are they lying to you when they say they're hanging out together just to look good? Like, that's important. For some people that doesn't matter, and that's fine, but like for someone like me, like I like feed off vibes. If like my vibe isn't good, like my life is not good. So just be aware of that. Patient demographics. What patients are you serving? Is it heavy like Spanish? You should probably know Spanish or it's going to make your life hard. If not, like ask, like, do I get a translator? Do the assistants know Spanish? Like, how's that going to work? Stipend was important to me. I went to UOP, $500,000 in debt. I was not about to pay more money, so I only applied to stipended programs. Time was important to me. I'm older, so I just don't want to be in school any longer than I need to. There are some 3-year programs, which are awesome, but it just wasn't for me. Look at the ratio of like what you're doing when you're doing it. Like, do you start seeing patients first year, or do you really kind of start seeing them second year? Like, how many how many things are you going to be able to do first year and second year so that you're prepared for yourself? You know, because it sucks to go into a program thinking it's going to be one thing and it's not, and then you just get frustrated for 2 years. So just really know what you're getting yourself into. Look at the schedules. There are some places that do rounds at 6 a.m. Like, there are some times that you have to be at the hospital at 5 a.m. Like, you have to ask those things so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Certificate versus a master's. That's important for some people, for others not so much. Other degrees that you can get. Yes, Sammy, ask about call. That was my next one, or that was at the end. Call is super important. USC has insane calls. Like, I've been out with some of you guys and like we're having a good time. It's nighttime and you get a call like on a regular basis. So some programs are just like, you know, you're going to get called every night. Others like UCLA, I didn't get called that much, but also my trauma experience isn't as good as USC probably because they got to see it and do it. Like my friends like would send me cases. I'm just like, whoa, I won't even see that at UCLA. So just look at that. If like that's important to you, maybe don't go somewhere that's so relaxed on their call. Also ask about call, like, am I going to be taking call by myself, or is the second year coming, or is it 2 first years leading the blind? Like, how is that going to go? 'Cause I'm sorry, you don't know anything when you graduate from dental school.
No, it's true. Your first time on call is it's a
How does the
memory.
pager work? Did I turn it off? It's not paging. Yeah, like ask about call. It's so important. Ask about work-life balance. Do you get research time? That's one thing we were so pissed about at UCLA. I'm sorry, but like we didn't get any research time. And to already be doing your MPH, like that's a lot. So some programs, it was like Thursdays, you get a research day, but you do with it whatever you want. Like you need to go to the doctor. I'm not your mom, not going to babysit you. But there's some programs that, again, UCLA, I would have to bring in a doctor's note when I'm like sick. So it's like, look at how much are they going to baby me? You know, how much autonomy am I going to have? What's my work-life balance going to be like? Vacation time. That's important. Like, you don't want to ask that to the director, obviously, when you're interviewing, but figure that out. Like, sometimes they'll say a huge number, but that number is a lie because they just incorporate like all these other dates. So just look at how many actual days you're allowed to take off. And if there's any stipulations around that, like if someone's getting married on a certain date, are they going to let you go to that? Like some programs won't. And that's so sad. Ask about the provider.
That might be a good question. Oh, sorry. That might be a good question for the residents. If you don't feel comfortable asking the director, you could ask like at a social, like in a casual way to the residents, and they'll tell you from there. So don't be afraid to ask those questions though, because at the end of the day, when the match makes its little magical match, that's where you're going. So, this. But yeah, I think that's all wonderful. I mean, seriously, I wish I had your PowerPoint when I was applying.
That's what I made it. I made one at UOP and I just like revamped it because it's just stuff that unless you ask, you won't know.
It's true.
Vacay time. Try and figure out who these faculty directors are, you know, like how long have they been teaching here? What's their style of teaching? What has other people's experiences been of teaching? Because we all learn differently. So like me coming from UOP, I didn't do so well at UCLA because it's just different philosophies on just life. So just make sure that you look at that because you're putting yourself into a family, you know? It's kind of like a marriage.
It is.
It is because I'm alumni for the rest of my life. Networking, I feel like unless you're into networking, it's not really gonna matter. Like I feel like UCLA didn't really help me a lot with networking, but I like naturally do that, so I just think I wouldn't look at that too hard. I know USC has great networking, so if that's important to you, I would look at that. Provider assistant, I would ask about chiefs, how that works. Every school is different. Some schools rotate chiefs. Other schools, like UCLA, just implemented this last year. Everyone's a chief of something, which is kind of cool because you get to really see how like one thing works. Like how does the OR work? How do the pre-docs work? How does the scheduling work? How does oral conscious sedation work? All that stuff. One thing that I think is really important, I like to be able to do anything that my patient needs, whether it be no nitrous and I'm just like natural nitrous, like talking their ear off, or like GA. I need all the experiences. So you need to ask, like, what do I get to use here? Do you use nitrous? On what patients do we use nitrous? Do you only have one nitrous tank? So that means that me and my co-resident are fighting over it. Do you do oral conscious sedation? What's your cocktails like? Do you use one med? Do you use two meds, three meds? Do you use meds without reversals? Do you get GA experience that is both IVGA and ORGA, or like how does that work? I personally, I think that's one of the strong suits of UCLA was their IVGA. We would have it once a week, and it's so important to be able to know how to work in that environment, because my anesthesiologists now, they love me because I'm sitting here like doing all these things that they're like, wait, dentists don't do this for me, you know? And it's cool because I can keep an eye on my patient. Like, God forbid, you know, they start desatting and my anesthesiologist is in the bathroom, or I don't know, whatever. I need to know like what to do. I need to know how to save my patient, because if you're even on nitrous, like your patients can start going south. So you need to be like so ready to be the provider who's going to save these kids if something goes south. So that comes from your residency. So I would ask all these questions. How often you're doing it too. How that rotation is structured. OR, like, do I go, Devin made a good point. Do I go by myself? Do I go with an assistant? Do I go with a second year? Do I go with a attending? Like, how does that work? Because you learn different things from different people. Hi.
Hi.
We talked about call. Oh, and I would ask something that I didn't realize until I was taking boards. How do they prepare you for boards?
Yes, that's a good question. I would ask about oral boards and the QE, because I know at Maryland we have like a class to learn how to take the QE, not learn how to take it, but like review information. But we also practice mock oral boards, which is
That's amazing.
Really helpful because
that's amazing.
I am not good at like speaking on the, like being put on the spot and like saying an answer. So it's good to have those practices beforehand. So I would say that's a good question to think of that I feel like a lot of people may not know to ask.
Yeah, I had no idea until
I didn't
the boards, and I was like, I have to study all by myself? What is this? Oh shoot, you can't see it, sorry. Interview tips, practice, we already talked about that. I would, again, like, be social, ask. There are some schools that give you pop quizzes. Like, you need to know the depth of preps. You need to know the your outline of the prep. You need to draw it out. Like, it's kind of like weird. So I only knew that because my friend told me before I went to go interview, hey, be ready for this question. So make sure you know which schools those are. I personally always liked knowing the style of the interview, because some you really have to prepare for, because it's a long day. Like UCLA and UW were super fun but super long, because you have all like a bazillion little interviews, and just to be on for that long and to be nervous and stressed out, that's a lot. So just like prepare yourself mentally, go to sleep early, wake up early, don't be late, all the stuff that we shouldn't have to tell you. But I'm like always like not early, but I would go the night before. Make sure you know where you're gonna park. Make sure you know how to get to where you need to be. You do not want to be the one that's last.
I agree.
Professional attire. Sometimes girls, we go a little too risque, so just look at that. Heels look so cute, but if you cannot walk in them, do not wear them, or bring like the little kind that you put in your purse or whatever. Oh, how cute. And just bring your own style. Like, people stand out when they are stylish. Like, when you're wearing a suit, guys, that isn't like your regular suit, that's gonna stand out. When you're wearing like a shirt that just pops, everything else is like black or whatever, people will remember you as like, oh yeah, that guy that wore that red shirt or whatever. So I always say, like, make it your own. You're presenting yourself to these people. I would look up the faculties, look up what they teach, look up their research interests. How was your residency experience?
It was actually really good. So at Maryland, it's a hybrid, and it's, you know, the 2 years. You can stay for an optional master's a third year. But I didn't do that. I was like, yo, I was like, I want to go for my 2. That's great. And then I want to leave. But it was nice. It was kind of like a family. Like the faculty at Maryland's like wonderful. I love them so
Love
much.
that.
And our resident class is very close. We're like yours, where we do get to look at the applications to see kind of who's a good fit. And the program director there is wonderful at making people feel comfortable about who they're going to bring in. So it's like a family environment, which was important to me because I wanted to have like friends, and I don't know, I wanted to like go to work and have fun and have a nice environment.
Absolutely.
So it was a good fit and comforting to have a familiar place.
Yes, absolutely. No, I think family's so key. I don't know, because I always say like my friends are family I get to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And like hopefully in your residency, like you'll make lifelong friends, which is important.
It is.
Where can we find out if a program is hybrid or not?
I feel like kind of you'll know a little bit by looking at, like, you can kind of gather that information by reading the website, and it'll say like I know at Maryland, I think that talks about like it has their academic like didactic schedule, and their we train out of a hospital. That's where we do our ORs and take calls. So you can kind of gather that information. They won't come out and be like, we're a hybrid program, but for me, I feel like you can tell. And if in doubt, message someone and ask, or send an email, or you know, you can always, people are happy to answer questions.
Yeah, just ask me. I'll like find someone for you. I promise you.
It's true. I feel like pediatric dentistry is tight knit.
So small. I think it's like the coolest thing ever. We talked about faculty, looking them up. I for sure looked up the faculty, and I would like try and figure out if I knew someone that they knew, because if you know someone they know, it's like boom. Yes. I'm not even interviewing. We're just hanging out for 10 minutes or whatever.
True.
Yeah. It's everyone's a person. Like, we're all people. Everyone's the same. Like, we want to like have fun. So make it fun for them, and they'll remember that. Don't be antisocial. Make friends. Again, like, yes, you're competing for these spots, but really not, because let's say me and you are interviewing. What if I love this program and you didn't? And then I just missed out on an awesome friend, an awesome colleague, someone that maybe potentially if I move, you know, to the East Coast, I could hit you up and say, hey, do you know anyone who needs a pediatric dentist? Like, remember these things. Like, we're all in the same family for the rest of our careers. So don't burn bridges. I had a list of questions specific for every school. Especially if I was like super interested in a particular faculty, I would come up with questions for them, because it's never good for it to be silent during your interview. No one wants that. That's awkward. And they will, they will leave time at the end to ask you, do you have any questions for me? And I personally, if I ask someone that and they don't have any questions for me, I'm like, well, this is not important to you, you know? So, and the same thing goes when I'm like interviewing for people in my office now. If you haven't looked me up, if you don't know like what I'm about, we're not a good fit, because that's what I'm looking for. So I would definitely have a list of questions. I had a little like journal notepad that I brought with me because I didn't want to have my phone out. Do not bring your phone out. Your phone stays away. It's silent. It's just a professional environment, and you should be very engaged, even if you're not being interviewed. Like, be engaged with the other applicants, be engaged with other residents that are hanging out, helping you, be engaged with, like, we have Theo Jesse at our school who's like does everything for everybody. Like, be nice to that guy, because he's gonna go tell Dr. Silva, the director, who was nice and who was mean. Be a nice human, like, period. Questions. I already told you guys about, I made a list of questions that I thought maybe they would ask me. Vice versa, I also made a list of questions for them. I think every time I would come out with my list of questions, they were like, whoa. So they liked that. I would bring cute thank you letters with me. So like by the time I get to the airport, write your thank you letters because you're going to forget who you met. I would write down everyone's name, like cute girl with long hair or whatever. Like, so that way I could send her a thank you note for being nice to me or whatever. People love handwritten thank you notes. So bring, and I would bring something that looks cute. Like I would probably bring something that's like pastel because I like pastels, you know, just something that's like unique to you. Again, I'm very big on vibes. I would stay a few days if I had the opportunity to just figure out like, is this somewhere that I want to live? Do they have food that I like? Do people look like me here? Do people speak Spanish here? Because if not, it's not going to work out. Like, I like exploring, so I would do that for yourself just to know if you want to live there. Someone asked me how many schools I applied to. Devin told me that I wasn't serious about wanting to be a pediatric dentist because I applied to less than 20. I don't know. I felt like 17 was overkill, but I really like the number 7, so I stuck with it. It's like my lucky number. I actually changed my match list the night before, thanks to my sister. Wow. Yeah, I was originally gonna put Baylor down versus UCLA. Baylor just has that like homey. It's huge. Like the class is huge. Just everyone just like that Southern hospitality, whatever you call it, like they're just awesome. And I felt like you had so many opportunities to do so many things with different schools, interdisciplinary, like all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like my gut was UCLA. Like I wanted to come back to UCLA. I wanted to finish what I started in undergrad. I really liked the autonomy of being in the Venice clinic. So I guess this is when I can talk about UCLA now. UCLA, and they're in the process of changing this. So I don't know how accurate this will be in a year or whatever, but they've been trying to change it to make the 2 programs into 1 program. So even though we do have 2 programs, our director doesn't like us to say we have 2 programs because it just creates a divide. So it's 1 program, but it's really 2 programs because I applied only to the Venice program. I did not apply to the Westwood program. And that was on purpose because I did not want to be on campus. I wanted autonomy. And I know when you're on campus, a lot of times the red tape is a lot more intense than if you're off campus. So I applied to only Venice. Venice only has 2 residents that they accept. Westwood has 5 residents that they accept. So that's why I applied to Venice as opposed to Westwood. I just wanted something more like smaller. What else? So I said location, work-life balance. IBGA we talked about. UCLA is very heavy on ortho, which I think is amazing. Like I work with one of my best friends now, Dr. Christine Stepanek, and kind of like her twin sister too, because we're always like interchanging cases and stuff. But having an amazing ortho background is so important to be able to work with your orthodontist. And I just feel like the future of peds is peds ortho. Like we should be like this. So I want to know like if my patient needs phase 1. I want to know why. Like I want to know, am I referring this patient to you and wasting your time? Or is this actually a patient that could benefit from this? And Dr. Law at UCLA is brilliant. Like I love that woman. And my ortho is just, I can do expanders on 2-year-olds. Like my orthodontist will not like really want to touch anyone under 6, but I'm like, dude, I'll take your impression. I'll do bands. I'll do everything. You just, put your name on it. So I think ortho is very important. Stipend, money is important. I'm broke, so I don't want to pay more. And then MPH was really important to me too. Transitioning from UCLA to the real world was like, it was just amazing. I didn't even celebrate like my graduation. We didn't have a graduation. I was so annoyed, but it was just like amazing. Everything that we've been working our asses off for, it's paying off. People are calling you doctor. They're not being rude to you, belittling you. They're asking you for your advice and nobody else's. You are that doctor in that office. And it's like crazy, that shift between residency where your assistants are questioning you and you know, you go into real world and you're like, wait, I want to ask someone. And my friends will know my first few weeks, I was like sending them pictures of everything. Like, what would you do? Like, would you watch this? Like, would you do something about it? Like, so that was weird to like having to ask my friends for things that, you know, I didn't think I would have to, but I just want to make sure I was doing a good job.
Right.
Emergencies are actually kind of scary when you're alone because there's no one else that you can ask questions to because it's an emergency. It's right there. So you really have to like remember, you know, all of those modules that you learned, the sequences. I'm seeing like all those arrows. So I think that was a rude awakening, but I also was like, whoa, I learned a lot in residency because I did everything that I should have done for this patient. So that makes me feel good. And the last one is just, it's like so cool to see that you're doing a good job because these patients will refer their friends. They'll leave you Yelp reviews. They will bring you gifts. Like they bring the whole family just to hang out for like a sealant appointment because they just love you, your environment, your office so much. So I promise you, everyone who's like undergrad, pre-doc, applying, like it's all worth it. All of it's worth it. My residents, like you guys are almost done. You are about to get paid for everything that you like have been grinding for. So, and then I get to work with like one of my best friends and like, oh, you can't see my people, but my team is amazing. Like they know so much about my life because I hang out with them 10 hours a day. Like they see me being goofy and annoyed and whatever. Like they're great individuals. But I think one of the things that you guys have to remember is that that all starts with you. Like your practice is whatever you make of it. If you come in there with a bad attitude, if you're not like engaging with your assistants, your front desk, you're not asking them about their day, their family, they're not going to talk good about you. Like I listen to them when they talk about me to my patients when I'm not there. It's like, it gives me chills because it's like so amazing. So just like embrace that you're like in a new family when you graduate. You know your stuff, even though you may like not think that you do. You really like, you learn everything that you should learn in residency, I think. Someone asked me that, do I feel like residency prepared me? At first, I don't think I did, but I think you don't know until you're like by yourself doing it and you're like, okay, I got the skills. So I think any residency you go to, you're going to get a certificate, you're going to pass boards, and we're all going to like hang out at APD next year.
Next year.
Maybe, I don't know.
Hopefully.
There's so many other questions people had. Maybe I have like, do you want me to go through those? I may have answered them already. Or do you have some?
So it looks like, well, I think we may have seen the same ones. Someone asked a pretty good so this is just speculation, but they want to know because if we switch to online interviews due to COVID, bummer, how will we be able to meet the residents to ask questions? My guess, and I don't know if you feel the same way, would be maybe they would have like a virtual social, I think. I mean, that would be my best guess. I don't know.
That would be the coolest. I just feel like people need to be proactive, especially right now. We're all at home, like not really doing much. Like residents or pre-docs who are cool with your residents at your school, like ask them to do something and that'll bounce off and ask them to do something. Because like for this, I just reached out to my friends and I was like, who do you know who is the pediatric club president, so that I can like give this information to all of you. Like it's all about just like honing in on your network. I think I even told Dr. Tom, I was like, I'll help put something together because that's so important, like the socializing aspect. But I would say try and do it within yourselves right now.
Yeah.
Someone asked about what goals to get out of residency. Learn everything, do everything.
Yes.
always be that yes person. Like, don't be that person who goes home early or who's on their phone, not wanting to help out your classmates. You will learn so much more if you're like present and you're ready for whatever, because not everyone is going to see the same thing. Like, some of my co-residents saw some cool cases and I didn't. I wasn't there, you know? If I had been there, maybe I could have helped. So be there. Things I wish I would have like worked on more was my speed, but I'm just like a perfectionist, so I was just like, I don't care about speed. I just want it to be perfect, and then that'll come. So I'm still working on that. Pulp treatment I think is very important to be able to do quickly on an awake kid, because you never know when they're gonna be like, I'm done, get me out of here, and you're like, crap, I have not even put this MTA in and I still have to fit your crown. Like, no. So just be very efficient. Learn from your co-residents and learn from your attendings and learn from your assistants. Your assistants know so much. They basically teach us every year. Every year they get a new batch of kids and they have to reteach them everything, because we have very bad like tendencies coming out of dental school, I feel like, a lot of times.
It's true.
And just right, you learn every step of the way. Prepare yourself to like carry yourself as the doctor, have confidence, present yourself as Dr. Jen or whatever your name is, because you don't want to be the student anymore. You're the doctor now. You, at this point, you've graduated from dental school. Like, you need to take ownership of that. If not, people are just going to look at you as a resident. I personally don't like that. I already talked about the transition. Skills are important. Extractions, I think, are pretty important to be able to do fast.
Yes, I would agree.
Without breaking things. So just like learn how to be gentle, learn how to elevate. Learn head positioning, learn how to talk like through anything. Because the parents literally in the room, I took this CE course today, and the guy was like talking about how close patients get. They get so close that he'll like turn over and kiss them. Like, I legit have moms like in my space as I'm trying to do an extraction. I can't tell her to get out of my face. That's my patient's mom. So I need to learn how to deal with that, be cool with that, make her comfortable with that, make my patient comfortable with that. Like, it's an art. Peds is an art. I think when we like go straight to like GA, that's a whole other conversation. We like lose the art of peds. So like learn that in residency. Like, don't just send everyone to IVGA. There's a lot of times my first year, you know, second years basically had all the treatment, and there's some cases that people would say like just send them to GA, and I'm like, I really think they can do like one quad at a time, and they would. So it's like, try those things, because at the end of the day, when you're in private practice, you're gonna have a few moms come in and say, this person wants to put my kid to sleep, I'm not doing that. So you need plan B like in your armamentarium. Drawbacks, talk about that. Take home advice. Oh, take home advice. That one's good. Just have fun. Enjoy this process. This is the only time, hopefully, knock on wood, that you'll have to do this. Like, I don't know. I just feel like life is a gift, especially with everything that we're going through. Like, just enjoy the good and the bad. Like, and try not to fixate on the bad too much, because that just sucks up your good energy. Hardest obstacle while applying: getting enough sleep, remembering things.
I would say for me it was budgeting. I'm not good at budgeting, and I had to budget it out. Like you said, if there are scholarships at your school that can offset like tuition or like things for school so that you can save more money to go on these interviews, I would recommend definitely doing that. That's what I tried to do, just because it does get, a little bit pricey. And again, that's something to think about, thinking if you want to go, do you want to cast a wide net all over the country, or do you want to stay in a certain area? So those things are important. But yeah, for me, it was budgeting. But my whole life, my whole problem's budgeting. So.
Yeah, I'm still working on that. It's so
More
hard.
process.
It's so hard. You're spending so much money at the same time for everything because you're like signing up for taking all these other exams
Yeah.
so yeah, budget. That's a really good one. How to
Someone,
make yourself a competitive applicant. Sorry.
oh no, go
I
ahead.
just be you. Like
Hmm.
don't be everybody else. Like just be you. Like whatever you love, someone else is gonna love because they're gonna feel your passion. Don't just go do what everyone else is doing. Um, help with networking, job search, ownership. Um, I don't think our UCLA personally like helped too much with that. I'm still learning. I am very big on like networking at like the dental societies when we go. So like the dinners that you have CEs or like your local like societies, CSPD, they always have like a happy hour where there are dentists who are looking for like pediatric dentists to come work with them. APD, which we don't have this year. Um, reaching out, just reach out to people like
Hmm.
GPs. Someone heard something somewhere. Um,
It's true.
and best take home advice, I already did that. Any other
Someone
questions?
asking about the ADAT. Did you take that exam?
I didn't take it. I think it was like March, they said that they were gonna start doing it, and I was like, no.
So,
I'm applying in 3 months. I can't take it. I know my first year when we were interviewing at UCLA, our director initially required it, and then she didn't, and then she changed her mind, and yeah,
I'm trying to
so
find. So I ended up, I took it because Maryland ended up,
you
they
go,
required it,
girl.
recommended. Oh no. So after I took the exam, I literally called the ADA and was like, you cannot send whatever score I've just received to anyone. So
Really?
I didn't, yeah, I didn't, but I found out the schools that do require it for this year because it's changed a little bit. So Tufts, Nebraska, University of Puerto Rico, Texas. I think this is Baylor, but I think Baylor has a new name. Kentucky and somewhere else, but they have like a website called adatknockout.com that can help. But it's a really random and weird exam, so I don't know.
There's I have this document. I don't know if you did it when you were studying, but there's 100 question document out there when they first put it out. That's like
Oh,
questions for the ADAT. Did you
oh
ever do
no,
that?
no.
So if you guys want that, just like DM me and I'll find it and send it to you guys. But yeah, it was 100 questions. I'm sure you can just Google it too. But it was 100 questions to just kind of help you prepare for the exam. How
It's a
was it? Because I didn't take it. Like, what's the breakdown?
Honestly, I can't even remember. I know it was a bunch of like random things that while I was taking it, I was like, okay, I was not expecting this to be on here.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if they've like changed the format or whatnot because I took it the first year that it came out. So I feel like they were kind of like not sure, what kind of an exam it was going to be. But I, did not end up submitting my ADAT score.
All that stress for nothing. I
I
would
know.
maybe, so remember how we were talking about emailing the directors with questions? There's a question. Hi, I saw that on your website. It says this. On pass, it says this. Do you require it? Like, how do you like really look at that? Or like, is that just a formality? Like, I would ask them that.
Yeah.
Any other
Yeah.
questions?
Oh, if
It's,
someone said
ooh,
there's 3 parts, part one is board. Oh, part one and part two boards, then research related questions.
yeah, that's what I remember. And I remember the questions that I saw being like not straightforward. Like you
They
had to
aren't.
take, huh? No, it was like this is a clinical scenario that you have to take biochemistry, pharm, dentistry, whatever else into account to give us the answer. The questions are pretty hard, I thought.
I felt I
As
felt that they were as well.
yeah, so this is another thing. My friend was like, "Oh, I'll apply in like, hi, I'll apply in like a year or two, maybe 3." I'm like, "No, apply now. They're just gonna keep making it harder for you to apply,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?"
But with that being said, I see some sad and scared faces about the ADAT. You'll be fine. It sounds like there's some more resources out there. I
It's
took it
another
the very
test.
first year it came out, so
We didn't have any resources.
We didn't have any resources. So try adatknockout.com or Googling for that sheet with 100 questions. I don't want to scare anyone away from it.
No. But it's just another test, you know, like you're going to keep taking these tests for the rest of your career.
It's true.
Until we become board certified.
Yes. Are you taking it this year? Or
I'm supposed to. I don't know. Are you?
I know. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen though, if it's going to be like online or if they're still going to have it. I don't know. Ugh.
I'm okay with them canceling it, to be honest. I'm like not in the mood to study nowadays at all.
Ugh. I know. It's so hard being at home with like not in a routine, but we go back next Monday.
Oh, Steph just said something good. She's like, my program, I said it required it, but I still got in and I didn't take it. That's true too. I went to Colorado and they were like, no, it's okay if you don't take it. I'm like, but you said it was it's weird. They don't even know what they're doing. Does UCLA accept internationally trained dentists? I think after you've done PPID here, or you mean straight like foreign trained coming into the PEDS program? And either, I don't know.
I know at Maryland we have a program where you spend a year in the pediatric program, and then I think you can apply to our program. So it's kind of like a 2-year process. But I don't.
Steph said no.
Oh,
just kidding. So, but Maryland does accept. I feel like Michigan does too.
Yeah, there's certain schools I know that do have programs, so you would have to either contact schools you are interested in individually and ask them. But I don't know enough information to give you any advice, and I don't want to make something up that's not true or
Boston.
Like
someone said good. Boston. Is the job market competitive? I'm trying to look for a new job.
I think there's always a need for pediatric dentists, because you have general dentists that love general dentists, but a lot of them in our area don't see kids under 3. So I think there's always a need for us.
I think so. I think to find the right job takes a long time.
That's true. That's the difference. You can find a job, but the right job, yes.
Yeah. It took me 6 months to like wait for the job I have now. Should one of our letters of rec be from a pediatric dentist? I don't think it really matters. I think it's just like, how strong can that letter be? How much is this person going to vouch for you and like your qualities and that, as opposed to it necessarily having to come from a pediatric dentist.
Yeah, I think that's, if you're close with the faculty or if you have a mentor. But I think what you said about if they show any hesitation when you ask them, go find someone else. Even if you just see it for a second, go find someone else.
No, yeah. Because they will write honest stuff, and sometimes it's not good.
That can happen.
Yeah. Well, I hope this was helpful, you guys. Yeah. I'm so glad you guys stayed on for so long. Oh my gosh, it's 8:30.
Thank you so much for coming on and talking. Yeah. Wonderful. Your information was wonderful, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was great. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm starting to make like videos to not like just help families like with brushing and stuff, but I'm also really like, I've been helping a lot of my friends who are GPs right now, because you guys are the ones that are seeing my patients, because I'm not seeing patients right now. Like the GPs are seeing pediatric patients, and GP does not want to be seeing pediatric patients. So it's really important for me to help you guys. Like if there's anything that you're like, hey, can you make a video of this extractions? Someone told me to do strip crowns. Like I will make the videos. It's going to take me a little bit, but I want you guys to be like the best, whatever dentist you are for kids, whether you're a specialist or not, because they're so special and like impressionable. And just think of something bad that happened to you when you're a kid. You don't like that when you're a grown up. So just don't be that person to those kids.
That's true. Thank you so much for coming on. And then just a little plug, I'll be back. but you can come back anytime.
I'll be back.
Yes, she'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be on with Dr. Nick. So hope to see you guys tomorrow. And thank you.
Dr. Nick's awesome, by the way.
Yes.
He's
yes, he
awesome. He interviewed, that's how I met him. He's really cool.
Small work.
You guys will learn a lot. He like, wow, this guy's amazing. Yeah. You guys should tune in tomorrow.
Yay. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
I learned a lot as well. Have a good rest of your night, okay?
You too, you guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.